Good evening and welcome to Arizona Illustrated for Thursday, July 12th, 2012. I'm Tony Paniagua. While many people are trying to stay inside during our blistering summer heat, others find that venturing outside after sunset is actually bearable and enjoyable in some cases. Tonight, we take you to La Placita in downtown Tucson, where classic films have been the featured attraction for more than a decade. The activity entices dozens of people to the area on Thursday nights. Luis Carrion has that story.
Oh, I don't know. It's just fun. You know, it's just a cool job. It's cool to just show up and watch movies, but it's cool to kind of tinker around with all this stuff. You know, a lot of times figuring out what goes wrong is kind of fun, diagnosing the problem, you know. Just kind of hide it behind this step. You know, I know the system is so small that I can figure anything out when anything goes wrong. Check, 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 check. 1, 2, check, check. A lot of the volunteers kind of help us out and donate gear and just kind of are just really cool to hang out with. So it's just a fun job, and it's just a fun shift. You know, once a week isn't that bad. And a lot of times it's movies that everybody's already seen. So, you know, they just want to come and see it again. And on my end, the tech stuff is easy, you know, and then on the other end of it, picking the movies and buying the rights and the marketing so people show up, that's part of it. Yeah, that's Erica's responsibility. I'm just in charge of the gear.
There you are. I was like, I hadn't seen you. My name is Erica O'Dowd. I'm the founder and director of Cinema La Placita outdoor film series. We show classic movies here in the plaza of La Placita Village every Thursday night, May through October, so 6 months out of the year we're showing classic movies downtown. I mean, it's everyone. We've got retirees, we've got families, and it depends on the movie. It's a really representative cross-section of Tucson. This isn't really a movie theater. You're not here to sit forward and watch the movie and get up and leave at the end. You know, I mean, that's not the intention. You can get this movie, you can go to Casa Video and rent it if you want, if you really want to sit down and watch it. I want this to be an event. I want this to be a thing that you come and do. You know, I always say, you know, come late, leave early. It's not about sitting watching the movie and facing forward and being quiet. What I really love is that this is La Placita, you know, the history of La Placita. Like, that's an original building. These buildings right here are all original. They're adobe underneath the stucco. And the stables behind are the actual stables. This used to be the spot where people got off the stagecoach and you could stable your horse. And you could, if you were brand new in town and didn't have a place to stay, roll out a sleeping bag and sleep here in this spot. And I love that this was the gathering. For hundreds of years, this spot has been the gathering place for Tucsonans.
Anything else? Oh, that's it. Listen, Charlie, if there's anything I can do, just call.
I feel like as people in this country or in this city, at the end of work, we go home, we put ourselves away in our little cubby, and we don't come out again until it's time to go back to work. And I wanted people to, downtown workers, frankly, to don't go home. Hang out, go get some dinner, come get some dinner here. Just don't, you know, it's summer. It's the best part of summertime is the evenings. We've made it through the day, so just stay out and enjoy the evening.
Now, do you understand that, Lenny? I understand it. Are you sure that you've got it?
Young filmmaker Rio Finnegan describes his debut short, Piñata, as being driven by themes like loneliness, corruption, the afterlife, trains, and even insects. It also tells the story of a very unusual relationship. Next, Mark McLemore finds out more about the challenges and rewards of first-time filmmaking.
Joining me now to talk about their work on the film Piñata, we have Donnie Tran, who served as the producer on this project, and the filmmaker himself, writer and director Rio Finnegan. Thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Rio, tell me, was there an inspirational moment for you when you decided that filmmaking was going to be your path?
Yeah, I think so. When I was kind of young, I knew I wanted to be a writer, but I didn't really know what kind of writer I was. So I thought I was going to write all these novels, be a novelist, and I would get like halfway through and just throw away the book entirely because I didn't like the work, because what I saw in my head was so much more cinematic, and I could never write that much cinema, in the words. Yeah. So, anyways, later, I picked up this book called On Screenwriting by Sid Field, and so I kind of realized what I wanted to write after that.
Well, in the case of this film Piñata, which you're now in post-production work on, was the script first for you?
Yes, it was. It was. I kind of started writing the script in my junior year, and in the end of my junior year, and me and Donnie kind of got together and at prom, actually, and kind of voices fell through, and we figured out that we should just do a film. It doesn't just shoot a film, and we did. So.
And how old are you now, Rio?
I'm 19.
So when shooting the film, do you like to look through the camera a lot as a director?
Well, actually, he looks through the camera. He's kind of the cinematographer type dude, and I just tell him where to go.
Well, what was one of the bigger challenges that Piñata presented for you as a filmmaker?
Well, I think it would have to be... Oh, man, there's so much. But that's the thing,
Yeah. Well, let me ask Donnie about your experience as the producer. Did you feel like you had to rein Rio in sometimes and find a more logical way, perhaps, to visualize his ideas?
Yeah, I think I've had previous experience, and this one was interesting because I was used to doing shows, writing, finishing a show in a week, and airing it on Sunday. So little things to help him in, like keeping the locations, short, 1 or 2 locations, 1 or 2 actors, So this is our first. I think we kind of went slow with it. So, but as time went on, we learned from everything that our mistakes and stuff.
Well, from your experience as working on other projects with Piñata, what kind of things do you think that Tucson offers a first-time filmmaker? What kind of advantages are there to shooting here?
Obviously, we've got like the desert, and what's really interesting is even like Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. He uses heat in there, and as it gets hotter, everything gets crazier, And Tucson, I don't know. I don't think enough people use it to film, but I think Tucson just has great landscapes and untapped resources, because if you watch a lot of Hollywood and movie films and stuff like that, it's usually the same kind of locations. So I think Tucson provides kind of a new, and we use the train tracks and stuff like that, and so around Tucson, and it's very isolated. So it's kind of hopefully something different that people haven't seen before.
Well, Rio, when you're facing the challenge of trying to describe Piñata in just a couple of sentences to people, how do you do it?
That is tough. I'm still working on that. So are you asking me, like, what is it about?
Tell us what it's about briefly, yeah.
Okay. So Piñata is about this man who is like an outcast, and he lives reclusively near the train tracks. And one day he's walking near them, and he finds the body of a murdered woman laying on this vacant, dead couch. And so he feels for the body. He really is kind of connected almost. And so he takes the body into his home. And in that, he treats her like a guest in his house. And that he also tries to figure out why she was killed, and also all these other mysteries within him start bubbling up, and later leads him to a meltdown.
Okay. Well, there's a synopsis we won't forget soon for the film Piñata. Thank you so much, Rio Finnegan, for sharing some time with us, and Donnie Tran, the film's producer.
No problem.
Thanks.
The Tucson Pima Arts Council recently announced its annual list of winners who are being honored with Lumies. The individuals or groups are seen as luminaries who contribute to the art scene, and we are introducing them to you right here on Arizona Illustrated. Tonight we feature community radio station KXCI, the winner in the Established Arts Organization category. Joining us are Katie Rogerson, the Vice President of the Board of Directors, and Randy Peterson. He is the General Manager at the station. Katie and Randy, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Let's begin with you, Randy. So what is the history of KXCI? How long has it been around?
Well, KXCI Community Radio signed on in December of 1983, so it'll be 29 years coming up later this year. And originally got started because there were a group of Tucsonans who didn't feel like there was commercial radio serving their interest. They wanted to have free-form radio where DJs could play more than just the hits. Did a lot of work behind the scenes, signed on in 1983, and we've called Tucson home ever since.
Okay, and we'll talk a little bit about how difficult it has been to stay on the air. But Katie, let me ask you, you moved here from Idaho, and you don't work at the radio station. You
Correct.
work as on the board of directors. Why volunteer over there? Why put your time into this place?
When I first moved to Tucson, I was introduced to KXCI, and honestly, I haven't changed the dial since. I mean, it's really that dynamic of a radio station. And the more I listened to it, the more I wanted to find out how I could become involved and help with the station.
And what do you do as the vice president on the board of directors there?
I help with fundraising. I'm the chair of the board development committee, and so we look for potential candidates for the board, people that can bring skills to help the station be sustainable.
And Randy, how common or how rare is it to have a community radio station like KXCI?
Well, full-powered community radio stations, there's about 25 or 30 in the entire country. So Tucson, this is a rare treat, and we always say that community radios only exist in communities that deserve them.
And one of the things that I have noticed when you listen to KXCI is that it's sort of unpredictable. Is that on purpose, right? Because
that's on purpose.
If not, it would be commercial TV or commercial radio, right?
And we always tell folks, if you tune in and you don't like what you hear, come back in an hour or two, because it'll be completely different. We rely on about 70 on-air volunteers to program radio shows live in our building, and that's 163 hours done live. We just have one syndicated news program.
And Katie, how challenging is it to try to keep one of these operations on the air, to keep it going?
Well, it's always challenging for nonprofits to survive from one year to another, but I think that the people that are members and are loyal listeners of KXCI are really devoted to the station. And so our job is to find those who are potential listeners and members and supporters of the station, and that's what we're tasked to do.
And what are some of the missions or the jobs that volunteers can undertake if they go to KXCI?
Well, we have obviously the on-air volunteers. We do teach adult DJ classes throughout the entire year. They're free. If folks want to get involved and actually become part of Real People, Real Radio. We also have off-air volunteers. We're out at community events almost every weekend, year-round, it seems like. And then when we have those membership drives and envelope stuffing nights and everything else, we can always use a hand.
Okay, and what do you like most about being part of this team, Katie?
I think just because it seems to me like KXCI really reflects this community, and this community is one of the things that I really enjoy about living here.
Okay, and Randy, so what about this Established Arts Organization Lumie Award? What do you want to say about that? Did you know, well, obviously you knew because you had been nominated, but you didn't know you were going to win.
We knew that we'd been nominated. We didn't know that we were going to win. We're thrilled with the honor and the recognition, because it really not only recognizes, I think, what KXCI does as an arts organization, but also the role that we've played in helping other arts organizations. We were actually in a category where every single person that was also in our category is someone that we've worked with collaboratively over the years to really benefit the entire arts and cultures community.
And it seems like, Katie, that is one of the missions, to hear people, local artists specifically, that you probably would not hear on any other commercial television station.
Absolutely. We really like to highlight people, musicians, artists in the community, and I think the station has been really pivotal in launching some local careers that have, folks that have gone on to do wonderful things.
And what about the future, Randy? With the internet and all these thousands of radio stations at the click of a button, how is KXCI going to survive?
That's a question that we get asked a lot. What is satellite radio going to mean for KXCI? And my answer is always that satellite radio is something that happens from somewhere else. And if you want to listen to a channel that just airs garage band music from the 1960s, more power to you. But if you want a station that's going to curate new music for you and bring you into the fold and teach you, then it's going to be your community radio station, and that's KXCI. And also, if you're ever going to look for a station that's going to be about your community, because that's where all of our DJs come from.
Okay, Katie Rogerson, Randy Peterson, congratulations on the Lumi, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
The music of composer Johann Sebastian Bach has maintained its popularity for 300 years now, based on qualities that music lovers and casual listeners can both appreciate. A local society dedicated to celebrating the master composer's work is holding their summer series of concerts. And here is Mark McLemore and his guest to tell us more.
And joining me now to talk about the St. Andrews Bach Society, we have their new artistic director, Benjamin Nisbet, joining us. And Benjamin is also a violinist. Tell us about your personal connection or experience with playing Bach music that brought you to this organization.
Well, playing Bach's music, I think for all classical musicians, is a very fundamental thing. And as it is fundamental for the musicians, it's also very fundamental for the audiences. I think there's a big part of that having that name attached to the series makes it very attractive to our audience. I came to be attached to the series first as a performer back in 2006 when the series was still kind of small, and got the opportunity to work and ultimately run the day-to-day operations of the series for the last 2 or 3 years as it was growing prodigiously. And just this past spring, I was named the artistic director of the society, which is a real great honor for me because it's a wonderful series.
Well, you use the phrase growing prodigiously, which is a terrific phrase to hear from someone who's talking about a Baroque music society. So tell us why you think it is that the music of Bach still commands the popularity today that it did 300 years ago.
Well, you know, and I do want to stress, it's not just a Baroque series. We actually do classical music from all the periods, classical, romantic, even some contemporary music that some people will actually hear on our series this year. You know, what it really comes down to with this series is that over the last 20 or 25 years, Tucson has grown a lot, not just in terms of the population, but culturally and artistically. It's been unbelievable. And now there are phenomenal classical musicians, people who are world-class with what they do, who live here year-round, not just coming in from other cities to give performances for some of the series that are already here, but people that really are residents of this city, and some people who, like myself, are natives of this city. And in the summer, not everybody goes away. And we need really good music, really good concert series for the people who are still here, who have a desire to see good classical music. And that's what the St. Andrews Bach Society does. We've doubled, and in some cases tripled our audiences over the last 4 or 5 years. And it's just because the quality of the concerts is really high and people want to see it.
Well, tell us about what's happening coming up on Sunday, July 15th.
Well, I couldn't become the director of concert series without giving myself a recital. So I'm going to perform with a wonderful young woman, pianist named Elena Miroshchiska. She is from Bulgaria. She's here studying, actually getting her DMA from the University of Arizona, studying with Tanis Gibson, an unbelievable musician in her own right. We're going to perform the works of Mozart and Brahms, so actually no Baroque music on this concert. And it's a recital that we've actually given before here in Tucson, and we're really excited to do it again. That's at 2 p.m. at Grace St. Paul's Episcopal Church this Sunday, the 15th of July.
And what do you have planned coming for the rest of the year? Can you give us a couple of highlights?
Absolutely. Our big centerpiece showcase concert takes place on August 12th, also at 2 p.m. That's a Sunday. And it is going to feature the St. Andrews Bach Society Chamber Orchestra. And we're bringing back as our conductor, director for that concert, Dr. Bruce Chamberlain, who is the director of choral studies at the University of Arizona, and I think one of Tucson's finest musicians of any kind. He's going to lead the chamber orchestra in the works of Bach, Handel, all Baroque, and Stravinsky, not Baroque, but it's music from Stravinsky's neo-Baroque, neoclassical period. So I think it's something that the audience will like very much.
And how large of an ensemble is that? What special instrumentation might you have in your group?
Well, two of the pieces, the Bach, the Third Brandenburg Concerto, and Handel's Concerto Grosso No. 2 from his Opus 6 are strings and continuo only. So that's a group of about 13 or 14 musicians. We will add 4 or 5 wind players to that ensemble for the Stravinsky. So it's a little bit larger than the average chamber music size concert that you usually would see for a series like this. But we think that it's something we try to do every year. We try to do something that features a lot of musicians and brings something larger to the stage for something special for the audience.
And you mentioned other concerts down the road, so after that big event in August?
That's right. Our final concert is actually August the 26th. It features the Bella Querida Wind Ensemble, which is a wonderful wind band. They're going to be performing works by Mozart and a few other artists as well. And they've been actually established here in Tucson for quite a while. They're fantastic. And I think it would be great for the Tucson audience to get them to know them a little bit better outside of where they usually perform. So we're presenting them to finish our season.
Well, as a musician, what types of work, and I'm sure that there must be several answers to this, but what types of work do you find most compelling to play? Where do you think your forte lies as a musician?
Well, you know, professionally, I sort of jokingly tell people that my day job is orchestral music because that is what it is. I generally find playing chamber music, smaller ensemble things, especially things that are unconducted, to be the most rewarding because it's a cooperative effort between the musicians on the stage, creating what they are doing for themselves completely from within. And when I say within, I mean within the ensemble itself. So that is extremely rewarding, especially when you're working with people who you really value and really trust and respect, which is generally what you find when people put themselves in the chamber music ensembles.
Well, best of luck with your concert series, and thanks so much for coming to share some information with us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks.
Now we go to our weekly segment from Damian Klinko, the president of the Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation. Tonight he tells us about an admired architect who was originally from England but left a legacy in California as well as Tucson.
At the end of the 19th and early half of the 20th centuries, enterprising architects established offices in dusty Tucson. The small adobe village transformed into an American city, and these architects were employed to give the built environment definition and weight. Their eclectic work shaped the city, creating a sense of place and giving Tucson a unique identity. Many of these early architects and builders were forgotten, but their impact is worth examination. William F. Bray was born April 17, 1877, in Cornwall, England. Bray worked for 3 years for the Southern Nigerian Exploration Company of London. He married Franny E. Kate Cooper in Cornwall, and then, in 1904, the couple immigrated to California. The couple settled in Santa Cruz, California, and started a family, having 5 children between 1906 and 1915. William and Franny naturalized in 1910, although Bray listed himself as a carpenter in the 1910 federal census. Within 2 years, he was a registered architect, designing significant buildings, including Piedmont Court. The grand apartment house located in Santa Cruz at 260 High Street was designed in the Mission Revival style. At the time of its construction, it was described as Moorish in design. In 1913, Bray was offered a job in Africa. The magazine Architect and Engineer published the offer. Rather than heading to Africa, the Bray family moved to the young state of Arizona, settling in Tucson in 1914. Bray's significant architectural work of that period is a clear blend of his English roots with the popular British arts and crafts movement, the green and green craftsman bungalow style developing in Pasadena, and the impact of emerging California regional styles. The Tucson architectural idiom emerged in the grand craftsman bungalows in Tucson's West University neighborhood and the recently established Menlo Park, which embodied the arts and crafts aesthetic. The new style featured strong symmetry, second-story massing, and our finely crafted details with local materials and rock, including the dark volcanic stone of A Mountain. The largest concentration of known Bray work can be found in Menlo Park. His architecture demonstrates not only a sophisticated stylistic balance, but also an adaptation from the bungalow form to the arid Sonoran climate. Bray masterfully used large decorative attic venting to create air circulation. In 1916, Bray's conceptions evolved from the bungalow style into a regional variant of the new modern prairie style, which he used in his own house. Architect Henry Trost, who had offices in Tucson at the turn of the century, had imported and experimented with the Chicago styles in many of Tucson's grand mansions built in the first decade of the 20th century. The Bray House on Grande, north of Congress Street, is a sophisticated expression of the new architectural modern lexicon. The geometric massing and flat roofline emulate the new architectural language of Frank Lloyd Wright's 1905 designed Unity Temple in Oak Park, Illinois, while retaining the more ornate Sullivan-esque details popularized by Trost in Tucson. The use of cast architectural sculpture and ornamentation relief was made possible by the skill of Sid Watkins, who had established an architectural casting company in Tucson. From the Bray House National Register nomination, according to a letter from William V. Bray, the son of the architect, dated April 10, 1972, the ornamental stonework was designed by his father and manufactured by the Watkins Stone and Staff Company of Tucson. By 1919, Bray's offices were located at 90 North Church Street, and during that year, he worked with the firm of Roy Place in Lyman to design the winter estate for the Gilland family of Philadelphia, located off Oracle. Bray sold his home on Grande in 1922. He and his family moved to Burbank, California. The date and location of William F. Bray's death remains unknown, but his impact on Tucson's residential architecture remains evident in the neighborhoods he helped create. His arts and crafts bungalows are among the very best in Tucson and helped usher in a new popular style for Tucson's homes in the 19-teens and 20s.
You can get more news and information on our website, azpm.org. To comment on any story you saw tonight, click on it online and go to the bottom. We can also be reached via Facebook and Twitter. Coming up tomorrow night on the Political Roundtable with Jim Ninsel, the race for a U.S. Senate seat in Arizona is heating up with reports of an illegal employee and breaking a term limit promise. Also, will Arizona provide health care for more of its poorest residents? And Governor Jan Brewer wants to deny benefits to state employees who have same-sex partners. I'm Tony Paniagua from all of us at Arizona Public Media. Have a great night.